All right, everyone, welcome to a special broadcast of Creative on Purpose Live, which is actually not live today, being recorded, but today is the second of what I anticipate to be 3 sessions about kind of the core curriculum of the purpose-driven prosperity model. So last week we talked about the close the gap process, which is basically a very simple 3-step process for determining your most current priority in your business, your biggest business objective, your path for succeeding in achieving that priority, and then also how you go about collapsing time to target. So achieving goal achievement with the greatest amount of ease and velocity is what the close the gap process is all about. Today, we're going to talk about the forever offer, which is a way of framing offer creation that doesn't require you to just go with whatever the current digital marketing or online guru trends or hacks or tricks are, but to actually come from a place of deep knowledge and wisdom based on your experience and your preferences and your personality, and how you can more or less create offers on demand for people that are actually looking for you and the solution that you have for their problem or the way that you have for helping them achieve their aspiration. Next week, we'll talk about the Be a Blessing marketing, which is a process of looking at marketing as something that is a very small part of your day-to-day business operations, and where you are essentially using the great work that you do and doing more of that work as your entire marketing and sales strategy. And then finally, we'll wrap up with what I am now calling the decision-making triangle, which is basically a way of catalyzing the 3 things that I just shared. So you can do better at clarifying your direction, crafting your path, and collapsing time to target. Do better at connecting viable, sustainable, perennial offers with people that are eagerly looking for what you have to offer to them, and do a better job of putting the great work that you do in front of the kind of people that need to collide with it so that you can enhance their lives with the difference only you can make for them. And it's all going to be catalyzed by this very simple 3-step process for making decisions better, which is very different than making better decisions. So today we are going to talk about the forever offer. And what's going to happen is I'm going to share my screen and walk you through a couple of things and share some thoughts. And then we have some members of the Solopreneur Success Circle community that are here for Q&A and implementation help. I have about 40 minutes to donate to this cause. We don't necessarily have to go that long, of course, but let's jump into the forever offer format. All right, so what we're talking about is a process for crafting principle-based offers that evolve and endure. So what I'm showing you now is the white paper that's going to be available to everyone that subscribes to the purpose-driven prosperity model on Friday. And I'm going to walk you through the portions that are going to be shared with all subscribers, and then I'll give some hints about the exclusive content for paid subscribers, also known as the Solopreneur Success community. Excuse me, just had a bird fly in the window. Okay, so the executive summary is basically just kind of setting up the premise. Nobody starts a business as a solopreneur. Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say nobody. I am guessing that very few people in this room started a business that is designed to help them make a difference with and for people that they care about in the world, so that they could become full-time digital marketers. But that very often is what happens. We start a business because we have this skill or this craft that we want to turn into a business that funds and fits the lifestyle that we want to live, that gives us time freedom and revenue freedom and relationship freedom and all the freedoms. And then we start to figure out, or start to at least believe, that we have to become full-time marketers in order to just get enough people to collide with our work and buy the thing that we have for them to buy, whether that's a product or service. So what the Forever Offer framework is doing is saying we can break that cycle. You don't have to follow the latest trends. You don't have to follow the latest digital marketing hack or the online guru formula, blueprint, roadmap, whatever it is, for lead generation, client acquisition, or any of those type of things. You don't even have to follow any of the usual offer formulas. So probably folks tuning in live now or in the replay are familiar with things like power offers or elevator pitches and all the things that we're normally taught that we need to have available so that we can sell people the thing that we want to sell them. What we're going to look at instead is a system that is rooted in empathy, authentic positioning, and playing always to not just our strengths, but our preferences, our personality, and our core values. So the problem with traditional offer creation is that there is this idea that we have to be in a perpetual state of launching some sort of offer or relaunching an offer that we've had in the past. I'm looking at some folks that have been clients of mine that are here in the room that have certainly been on the launch hustle hamster wheel. And so what we find ourselves doing is constantly grinding out content, constantly chasing clients, and constantly revising this offer to appeal to whatever the latest marketing trends are. So this idea that things like power offers and funnels and launch formulas and value ladders are the things that we're normally looking at, and that we can find a better way. A Forever Offer is perennial, anti-fragile, authentic, and it does not rely on the tactical, tool-based, or strategic ideas or trends or whatever's popular in the moment. So the core principles of a Forever Offer are anthropological, meaning it's human. It's grounded in who we are, what we are good at, and where we actually belong. It is adaptable. We don't have to come up with some sort of offer based on some sort of rigid formula or template or script, but we have the ability to have what we do, what we're good at, where we belong, be an evolving thing that can be matched up based on the needs, wants, dreams, desires, aspirations of the people that we want to serve, and that a Forever Offer is anti-fragile, meaning your offer and your ability to to articulate this offer and get this offer in front of more of the right people actually gets better and better, stronger and stronger with every interaction that you have, every conversation that you have, and that it's something that is in a constant state of iteration and improvement, not because you're going back to the drawing board every single time it's time to launch, but because it's just actually something that is flowing through you, because it's all based on not just your experiences and your personality and your preferences and your unique abilities, but it's coming from this place of values and a profound sense of knowing who you actually are, what you actually good at, and who are the people that can be, whose lives can be enhanced by colliding with you and the difference that you can make for them. And so you can see my fondness for alliteration here. So we have the key attributes are anthropological, adaptable, and anti-fragile. The foundational principles are preeminence. You are going to be leaning into the fact that you are the unique value proposition of your work, that you are crafting offers based on the difference only you can make for people in the way that only you can make that difference, that it's rooted in values, talents, and belonging. Positioning wise, you become the one and only choice for people that are trying to achieve an aspiration or solve a problem that you can help them with, because of this idea of shared values, and that you possess the unique talents, the unique perspective, the unique process that matches their needs, and that it is perennial, meaning you don't have to go into this grind of updating or creating new offers all the time, but instead, because they are based on fundamental principles and a fundamental understanding of who you are, what you're good at, and where you belong, they don't change dramatically over time. They just become more and more refined and more and are able to be adaptable. The rest of this goes into the step-by-step system, which I'm not really going to go into right now. That's going to be saved for Friday. I should also mention that this has all been presented to members of the Solopreneur Success community as a workshop, and that workshop is now packaged into an online course, which any subscriber can purchase right now for 50% off. It's a $50 course that's currently $25. And I'll just share a couple of final thoughts about this whole idea of creation of a forever offer creation and distribution. It begins with the fact that you have to know who you are. It starts with who. It starts with you having a deep understanding of what you believe, what your core values and guiding principles are, what your unique skills, talents, disposition, abilities are, and that you have the ability to align yourself with people who share your values and need your talents to enhance their lives. So you're not chasing after, oh, right now AI is really hot, so I'll become an AI expert and I'll help people with AI because there's this huge market, there's this huge demand for that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong if you want to approach your business in that way. I'm just saying that for the folks that are usually attracted to me and my work and that are interested in this forever offer approach, they're not going to create a product or service just around whatever the hot topic is of the moment. They're actually coming from this deep understanding of and desire to express themselves. So it also presupposes, the forever offer approach presupposes that you're actually pretty good at what you do already. And the great benefit of a forever offer is that instead of having to, take a bunch of courses, read a bunch of books, watch a bunch of YouTube videos, and become an expert in something that you hadn't been an expert in before, you're in this constant state of just refining and developing who you really are, what you're really good at, where you really belong. So you're always in this process of refining and developing and iterating and improving the things that you're already good at, that already matter to you, that already align with your values, your guiding principles, and so forth. And so if you have some of these things already figured out, or if these are things that you already possess, this deep sense of knowing who you are and what your values are, what your talents are, and who it is that you want to be helping, it's just a lot easier to get started. But even if you're not very clear on all that yet, this approach will actually help you expedite that refinement, that articulation of what it is that you feel like you're here to do. You'll find yourself being able to discover or define or start to move toward your sense of purpose. And so just to wrap up, the way that the process unfolds, which is going to be unpacked more in the step-by-step process, is you are basically a forever offer approach is built on having meaningful conversations with people who share your values and need your talents to enhance their lives, performing what I call audits, which is helping them articulate where they actually are and what they're starting with, where they actually want to go, and what process you have or can help them create to close the gap between where they are and where they want to be. And then offering what I call a diagnostic, which is literally help them craft a path, create a plan, a strategy, whatever you want to call it, a process for accomplishing whatever it is they want to accomplish, whether that's an aspiration they want to achieve, or if that's a problem that they want to solve. So it sounds like I'm saying, do what you do and give it all away for absolutely free. And that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is nobody is going to buy your thing just because you have a thing. So if you think you can sell someone your process because it's so unique, it's so new and so innovative and so successful and powerful, that's not going to happen, because nobody is going to buy something that they don't already understand. Nobody buys innovation, they buy information. And so the process of doing the conversations, the audit, and the diagnostic means you're providing them with all the information, you're providing them with all of your process, and helping them see that it's accomplished, able to be accomplished, and how they can accomplish it with your unique product or service. And what they will end up paying you for is for the guidance, for the access, for the implementation, for your ability to catalyze that journey, because you can help them see what they don't see. You can help them see the opportunities that they don't, or the unseen leverage that they don't see. But even more important, you can help them navigate the vicissitudes of time and randomness. Whatever's happening, or whatever your process is, it can't account for time and randomness. Time will pass, and weird things, random things, unexpected things will happen. And people will pay you to help navigate those things with greater certainty and with less risk, so that they can accomplish what they want to accomplish with greater ease and velocity. So that is the complete overview of the process. I went just a little bit long with that, but we've got plenty of time to hang out with. We've got Cato and Tanya and Sandra and MJ and Molly in the room. And so I'm going to stop my share, and we're going to go into Q&A and implementation. Was the presentation part of that? Anybody have any clarifying questions about the approach?
I have an observation if no one has a question, but I don't want to come in with the observation first. If
observations are absolutely fine. I'll turn it into a question.
You're good at that. Well, one of the things I noticed, because I was decided to practice drawing, and I will send you a picture of this, but because you started right after making the better decisions, I drew a brain, also framing, I drew a little framed thing. But what you were talking about rooted, grounded. And so I started drawing these roots and the groundedness, and how often you talked about deep, or like, so this very chthonic, like, was it chthonic? Is that how they pronounce it? But that idea of the thing that's under, that then becomes later And while we were talking, eventually I was like, well, eventually it'll grow. It becomes this tree and the fruit. And that's what we're talking about. But that's after the investigation part where we're at right now in the foundation. Because you said those words. And as I realized, they wound up all going under in the earth, everything you were saying, who you actually are. Humans, the human-centered and fragile is ground. You said grounded in these principles, deep understanding of self, deep knowledge of who you are, those kinds of things. And the preeminence, you had your preeminence positioning perennial. You also have perennial, which is another thing about that continued growth, that it comes at certain times of the year, or how it does itself, but it repopulates the thing that is nourished. And anyway, that's why it's not a question. It's just like, as I was drawing, I realized how often it went under in the ground, under in the rooted part of it. And then that's what you did say, that those things, and how, yeah, anyway, just the visual aspects of where you were going with it, and how it speaks to that depth, that foundation philosophy is also part of the things you were talking about, and core values. And anyway.
Well, I really appreciate those observations, because it speaks to, I'll just to amplify some of the things that you were sharing, Cato. There is this fundamental belief that I have about why we do the work that we do. Like, work is just the exchange of energy. Plants take energy from the sun, nutrients from the earth, water from the air, and put it energetically, use it to transform themselves, by growing limbs, by putting out buds, by putting out flowers, by putting out fruit, and so forth. That's plants work. That's how plants work. Animals work by consuming calories, and so that they can exert calories looking for more food, or doing other things that animals do. But humans are really unique in that work is how we build identity and forge meaning in our lives. And so there is this vocational aspect to why this approach is the way that I approach things, but also the reason why I think some people are attracted to my approach is that they understand that work is more than just what we do to make money, to take care of our financial responsibilities. Work is an expression of who we are and what we believe and where we belong. And it is a way that we can actually, instead of leaving a legacy of money and monuments, we can actually live a legacy where our legacy is the difference that we're making while we are walking the planet and have the ability to have an impact. And so all of what you were sharing around being deeply understanding and knowledgeable and trying to express self is really important, because it's what actually matters. Who you are is in many ways reflected in not just what you do, but how you do it, and who you do it with and for, and who you don't, and how you do it and how you don't, and why you do it and why you don't. So I appreciate the reflection.
I also wanted to add thank you for the visual, since I'm a visual person. To me, it takes it to another layer between the trees and the images. I will see the forever offer in a new way now. So thank you for the observation.
Always appreciate the visuals.
Well, and actually, what it was is too, I just learned, because Scott, a couple of weeks ago, you sent that question that stopped me about, like, at the top, the first one was like about how much money. And I was like, money? What would I do that I charge money for? Other than, when people ask me to teach or work on their specific things. But I was like, well, if I made an offer like for money, what would that be? And I started making notes for, I've been working on it. And one of the things that I realized is, I already do all these doodle art things. And I came across some artists a couple of weeks ago who get paid to do meetings, and they are the illustrators. And now with Zoom meetings, you can have an online whiteboard as part of it. And I was like, oh, I'll go to Scott's meeting today and I will practice doing some of these doodle things, but I'll even be more, that's what I'll do. And I'll just see what happens. And maybe that could be the top thing I fill out next time Scott sends that questionnaire. Because like, even though it's a short term, it's not this long thing, but I have fun doing it. So I was like, oh, just being fun in the moment, I make some money. What a concept. But anyway, so it's all tied to, it all ties together under this tree that you drew today. But thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
And thank you, Tanya.
I'm a huge fan of tree metaphors, so I appreciate that very much.
And Cato, half of my work is working with a graphic facilitator that I've worked with forever. And he literally is so dang great. And I cannot wait to introduce you to him. But that is what he has done for 20 years, is gotten paid to doodle for conversations. And he's really good at it. So I'll introduce you to him.
Oh, thank you, MJ. When I was a caricature artist, which is how I got my first job in theater, because I caricatured the people that were starting to found this theater and they needed a stage manager. And I was like, anyway, but yeah, thank you.
Other questions, reflections, implementation, advice?
I also just want to say thank you for, I love the metaphor too, and I think it's really helpful, and also to think about how cost makes me think about, the seeds of a tree, like this natural abundance that nature has, and like I ate my first orange off the mandarin tree in my backyard. I've never had a mandarin tree. I'm like, they were still green, but it was like, it's just, we have to eat them. They're abundant. Anybody's ever had a fruit tree, right? It's like an apple tree. So, but yeah, each of one of these little things that the tree has to produce, it's full of seeds, right? And so this idea of, if we just follow, nature has so much to teach us in creating value also, right? And but that it doesn't have to be work. It can be just, if we can find that thing, then it can feed itself. I don't know. I love the metaphor. I could go on and on, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the metaphor a lot.
One of my, I think it was Onward, closes with a tree metaphor, because we raised our sons on a farm in this county that we live in the northern part of the county, and it was essentially a fruit farm. We had 50 blueberry bushes and a bunch of we had espaliered Asian pears in the garden, and a bunch of apple trees that were grafted from the Thomas Jefferson orchard. So we had all these really exotic, not exotic, but just, I guess, vintage apple types. And we had a 100-year-old Stamen Winesap apple tree in our yard. And it was, it's the whole reason why we bought the farm, because it was in bloom. When we looked at it, my wife was like, I've always wanted to have a house with an apple tree. We have to buy this house. And so, of course, we had to buy that house. If anybody here has ever taken care of fruit trees, oh my God, it is so much work. And you will never appreciate an apple more than if you prune that tree. But the thing about having a farm like that, there was so much abundance, to Molly's point, you couldn't possibly eat all the fruit. And then the Stamen Winesap would just drop apples all over the place, and people would come to the farm and be like, all these apples all over the ground, the deer are eating them all up. Why don't you go out there and get all those apples? oh, we're going to get those apples because we're also going to hunt the venison later in the year. And we had some of the best tasting venison I've ever had came right off that farm. In fact, it was hung and quartered and all that right in that very apple tree. So, but yes, abundance and fruit. I love the metaphors. The one last quick reflection to Cato's point, just around the whole idea of compensation. A big part of the Forever Offer workshop, course, white paper coming out is a conversation, a little bit of a meditation on because on compensation and on the distinction between generosity and offering so much value for free, for no remuneration, and but also where to think about drawing a distinct line between what you give away for free, which is quite a bit, but what you decide and define you must be paid for. And so, for folks that are listening and thinking, okay, well, Scott, it all sounds good, but it sounds like I'm basically giving away all my intellectual property and giving away all this, value for absolutely nothing. There's a really good reason for that, and that's because, number one, if you don't think you're giving away things for free, doing it the way everybody's doing it right now, you're not really paying attention. Because if you are spending time on learning the latest digital marketing hack, trick, online guru, formula, roadmap, whatever, and then spending time creating the content or hacking the funnel or scheduling out and implementing the launch to do that, if you actually if you have a dollar value attributed to, this is what my time is worth per hour, and you actually applied that hourly rate to the amount of time that you spend on marketing and sales stuff that has nothing to do with actually making a difference, that the difference that you want to make in the world, you are already spending a lot more money than you're really thinking about, and if instead you would rather be spending your time actually making a difference in the world and some people will take it and DIY it, or they will try to DIY it, you will be surprised, number one, at how many of those people that take your intellectual property and start to try to apply it themselves end up coming back to you because they find it impossible to actually implement and succeed without your learned guidance, experience, ability to practice plank knowledge over chauffeur knowledge. Everybody here familiar with plank knowledge versus chauffeur knowledge? It's an apocryphal story about Planck. I can't remember his first name. Planck was a physicist who went around the world giving lectures, and he had a chauffeur that was with him for years and years. And one day the chauffeur said, I've heard this lecture you give so many times, I think I could give it for you. And so he says, sure. Next stop, the chauffeur gets up on stage and delivers a perfect lecture, word for word, no holes in any of the theory or the arguments. But then they go into Q&A, and someone in the audience asks a question that requires deep knowledge and the ability to think beyond just the facts and the figures of the lecture. And the chauffeur says, that's a very interesting question. I'm going to call my chauffeur up to answer that. So but that's, I share that anecdote because it's what people actually pay you for. They're not paying you for your information, because they could probably just ask ChatGPT and get a pretty good approximation of what your information is. They are paying you for your ability to help them navigate uncertainty, risk, collapsing time, and all those things. Any final thoughts or questions before we wrap up?
I just have a quick share
Sure.
because I've been, I mean, obviously with the group in the Success Circle and Scott popping in and out of coaching with you and that. So right now it's, I mean, with all these seeds, with what you've been sharing for the past year, I'm actually organically in this process of with 2 clients. They came to me and I knew what they needed. I can always very easily intuitively come to what people need, but they came to me with knowing they wanted something, but not really knowing what. And so right now with the 2 of them, well, they're in privates. They're each in their own private program, but we're just organically going through what they need. And I'd explained to in another conversation or session with Scott, I'd said, like, I have my basket of all my offers, all my tools, all my skills, all my knowledge, everything is kind of there. And I'm just sort of picking out what's going to be of most use to them and what they're going to easily connect with so that they really benefit from what we bring in. And so I feel like just by listening and just bringing in the bits and pieces of our conversations together here, whenever we're able to partake, has kind of led me to that somehow, just organically, like without even much efforting.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
That's the goal, right, Sandra? That's what we talk about all the time. It should be more instinct and intuition and less hustle and grind and thinking. And I love the reflection because it reminds me just what another element of this that's probably worth sharing. I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that you shouldn't have that menu of offerings that we've all probably created in the past, right? It's just that you don't need to be married to the idea of your offer being a pre-packaged pitch of what you do, or the product or the service that you have. That I'm just looking around the room, and so like I've worked with Sandra multiple times as a one-on-one, and I've helped her create her plan for filling her programs and achieving her revenue goals. It's in my one-on-one work with Sandra, I have not done anything differently than what I am doing now with MJ as a member of the Close the Gap 90-day accelerator, which is obviously another prepackaged offer. Same process, same ideas, same principles, just delivered through kind of more of a group coaching, a hybrid one-on-one group coaching program. And then, Tanya is in the new coaching by email program, the Inbox Catalyst, and she's experiencing nothing different than MJ or Sandra. It's just a slightly different delivery system. And there are certainly differences in, the amount of time, right? Because what are people actually paying me for? They're paying me for access and attention. And when I say attention, I mean, like, if you're a client of mine, I'm actually renting you space in my brain, because it's not like I only turn my brain on when Sandra and I are on a one-on-one call. Sandra is in my brain, and Sandra in her situation and all of the knowledge and experience that I have from working with her, they're cycling around back there, so that when Sandra and I are in a conversation and she comes up with a question or a situation, I'm drawing from, this reservoir of thoughtfulness and problem solving that's been going on in the background well before we got on the call. And I don't think that any of us value that enough. Like, you literally, you get space in my brain over time by being a member of this community, by being a participant in any of the programs. But, to Sandra's point, even though I had this menu of offerings in my back pocket that I've kind of created over time, that's never what I'm coming into a conversation with an agenda for selling. I'm not like, geez, I wonder which of these menu items I can cram down this person's throat. It's you're listening, you're auditing their situation, you're diagnosing their situation. And when it's time to decide how you're going to help this person, you can draw from the menu, or you can craft an offer on the spot, because this is what I need to be compensated for on an hourly basis for someone that's renting that space in my brain, based on this delivery system that we're devising in through the audit and the diagnostic. And then this is the great benefit of the approach. And I should have articulated this sooner. This is not about selling anybody anything, because you are never putting yourself in a position where you are trying to use sales call tactics or false urgency or scarcity, or countdown timers, or buy one, get one offers, or any of the usual things. Because you're not coming from a place of pressure, you're coming from a place of presence. And by being in a place of service and presence, as people are becoming more and more attracted, aware of and attracted to you and the difference you can help them make, number one, there's buy-in and lock-in. Like, they're not looking elsewhere, and they are continuing to, you, again, positioning wise, you're becoming the one and only choice over time. When it's finally time to decide what that relationship is going to look like in terms of, delivering on the promise that you've been making, it's not a sales call. It's a decision call. You're just deciding together, and they are initiating the conversation. So you're never selling anything. It's an inception move. They're asking you, how can we work together? How can you help me accomplish this thing I want to accomplish? And that is a much more effective and efficient way of working with people, because then there's never any buyer's remorse, because they actually are asking. They're not, you didn't trick them out of their credit card and now they lost all their leverage. They see it as, I am paying to have this person catalyze my experience in achieving what it is that I want to accomplish. So just a final thought on another virtue.
Insight. Sorry, Scott, an insight that's coming with what you just said, because I loved that when you said that same very line to me a long time ago. It's like, when you're in sessions with me, like, you're paying for space in my brain, like, literally. And if you're not there, like, you're not going to take up brain space. And I think, just on that line, for people who are entrepreneurs and starting their business, because I'm just on the precipice, I can feel it, because every time I hear it from you, I'm just on the precipice of making that complete switch. But when we're getting started, or I'd been in it for almost 20 years, like, we are so good at what we do, and that goes for everyone in this room, that when you come across different people and you meet people, you're like, oh, I know how I can help that person, or I know like what I know, my skills, my knowledge can support that person, or wow, if that person knew that bit of wisdom that I've gained from everything I've been through, wow, that would really support them. But those people haven't enlisted or enrolled for space in our brain, but here we are knowing like how we can help them and how can we appeal to people, and then that gets us into selling mode that Scott's just describing. And so then instead of sharing, and then so I'm kind of energetically right at that point where universally I'm coming into that deeper place and understanding of that law of attraction and changing my point of attraction so that we draw the people who were meant to come to us for help. So that, like when Scott's saying, like people who need to work with you or want to work with you, or by, you know, some different soul connection are meant to cross paths with you, they come to you from a different point of attraction. And that's, I mean, that's been a real soul searching thing for me, because I will, like everyone I come across, I know how I can help them. Everyone. But that doesn't mean like that everyone that I know I can help is going to come my way. Like some of them are never going to enlist with, like, do anything with me. Some of them are never going to. So why are they taking space up in my brain? Right. So I love when Scott says that, because it makes me laugh. I'm like, yeah, why? Why am I trying to figure out how I can help this person? So just sharing that.
And you got to look, to connect it to the metaphor again, just one more thing. You got to look like an apple tree. If you're making apples, it's like better if you're an apple tree and you're always making the same apple. It's like easier for people to be like, that's an apple tree. Okay, so I'm going to go, if I'm eating an apple, I'm going to go to that apple tree, and all the apples look the same. So like they're, or maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that made sense, but I pictured it in my head like a branding thing. I don't know. You're always going to make the same apples.
Yeah, it's a great closing insight, Sandra. I think there's this other piece of all of this that we've not touched on. I don't know that I've ever spoken directly to it before, but the that kind of vibe that you're talking about, like this place of fulfillment and equanimity, like being okay that you're not going to be able to help everyone, and being okay that not everyone that could be helped is even going to ever ask for help. And we talked about this, Sandra and I, when we did a workshop together on doing things from a more instinctual and intuitive place, as opposed to a forced or process driven place, is like finding your, like, what's your enough. Like, I was on a call earlier today where I was getting lots of pressure from people that are like, hey, your business you could really scale this thing right now. Like if you wanted to, do this, do that, do the other, all of which require a lot of time, attention, money, and effort. Like you could actually take this thing to the moon. It's like, well, but I'm living the life I want to live, like right now. So the best thing I could do is probably just keep doing what I'm doing and not worry about what else is possible, but and then they appeal to your better nature, like, oh, but you could help so many more people. It's like, not necessarily. Like there's not that many people that want to be helped in the way that I can help them, because I'm not offering quick fix solutions. I'm not offering tools, tactics, and strategy. So and to circle it all the way back to the beginning of the conversation, it all really comes down to a deep understanding of yourself, not just who you are and what you're good at and where you belong, but what matters to you. Because that's what fulfillment ultimately is, accomplishing what it is that matters to you. Like if my life, what matters most to me is spending time with my wife and grandson and taking long naps in the middle of the day, and I'm accomplishing that, I've won. I don't need to win by a blowout. It just more success to me. There's not enough hours in a day to spend the time I would like to spend. So, but I spend more than enough. And so that's my enough. So, that idea of finding your inner sufficiency and enoughness, and having the ability to say enough is enough. I'm good. All right, gang. Well, I know, MJ, I'll probably see you in just a few minutes on our next call. But for the rest of you, well, I'm sure Molly will be there in the cheap seats again.
Yeah, is that still open, Scott? Because I'm open this morning, so I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
listen.
Yeah,
Oh, it
just,
is still. Okay, so I'll listen.
hop back in this room after I shut down, and
Okay.
make a quick run to get a cup of coffee. But I really appreciate the great questions, great insights, and observations, and the follow-up here. Hope everyone found this helpful and useful, that's here in the room, but also those of you that are tuning into the broadcast. And if you would like to come on to the next session, that will be next Wednesday, which will be April 16th. And we'll be talking about Be a Blessing Marketing, the virtues of marketing webs over marketing funnels. And yeah, hope to see some of you here in a few minutes, and see the rest of you maybe later in the week on our Friday call. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.